devotees, a warm welcome back to our continued series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. But first, let us offer our respects to the revealer of the Dham, Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. All glories to Prabhupada. So today we'll conclude with our short series on the Sakhis of Vrindavan. We actually have two Sakhis left, Rangadevi and Sudevi. Now the task is made easier by the fact that the two of them are actually twin sisters. So we'll do both of them in one lecture. So to begin with, Rangadevi and Sudevi's mother's name is Sukuruna, and their father's name is Dharma Bhanu. And I was reading that he's described as a great scholar in the Vedas. Now the village which they live in, because remember we've described many times how the Sakhis all have their villages around Varshana, where their queen lives, Srimati Radharani. So their village is called Sunhera, and it's situated on a hill known as Suvarna Chala Parvat, which literally means a hill of gold. And their age, remember they're twins, their age is 14 years, 2 months, and 8 days eternally. Although Rangadevi's considered the elder of the two by a few minutes. And they are 7 days younger than our beloved Srimati Radharani. Now, Rangadevi's complexion is the color of a lotus filament, and her clothes are the color of a red rose. And it's written that she possesses a very sweet temperament. And her main service, this is interesting, her main service is to apply red powder to the lotus feet of Sri Radha. I also read that she engages hundreds of maidservants in the service of the divine couple. But her main helpers are Mangala Manjari, Kunda Manjari, and Madan Manjari. For our purification, I'll recite that again. Mangala Manjari, Kunda Manjari, and Madan Manjari. And there are also 8 other prominent gopis who it's described, the acharyas say, a sister in every way. And their names are Kalakanti, Shashikala, Kamala Madhura, Indira, Kandarpa Sundari, Kamalatika, and Prema Manjari. Now, Rangadevi's twin sister, again, is Sudevi. And, well, obviously they look alike. It's described that Sudevi looks very similar to Rangadevi, being twins. So much so that very often Radha and Krishna, they'll call Sudevi by the name Rangadevi and Rangadevi by the name Sudevi. So we can say in English identical twins. But of course there's the differences in the sense that Sudevi's color is that of black gold. Sudevi's color is that of black gold. And her clothes are the color of red coral. Now her main service is Jal Seva. Jal Seva. Like we talk about Jal Leela before, we've spoken about Krishna's Jal Leela, which means his pastimes in the water, like the Jamuna, Manasi Ganga. So her main service is Jal Seva, meaning any service that's related to water in the service of Radha and Krishna. And her main maidservants are Taraka Manjari, Sudamukhi Manjari. What a beautiful name. Sudamukhi Manjari. And Padma Manjari. And she also has 8 other main gopi helpers. And they are Kaveri, Charuka Bhara, Chaurukabara, Sukeshi, Manju Keshika, Harhera, Mahahira, Harkanta, and Manohara. And I read that Sudevi's specific qualities are that, number one, she's expert in decorating the long braid of Sri Radha. She's expert in teaching parrots how to send messages between the divine couple. And she's also expert at arranging friction between two parties, like partridge birds, demigods, and even the divine couple. You know, some arguments which are resolved in Vrindavan's ways to increase the love of everybody in Braj. She's also described as a scholar in the language of birds. Here in Vrindavan, we have so many different varieties of birds. It's really what helps make Vrindavan what it is. You hear the chirping and the singing of so many birds, even today. It's so sweet, it's so nice. So she's a scholar in the language of different birds. She can speak to the birds. Now remember, the birds are all self-realized souls. They're all Brajavasis. It's just their seva. And I was reading, it's really interesting, that Sudevi is so potent, so powerful in her seva to Radha and Krishna, that she can control the climate of Vrindavan. She controls the time the sun rises. She controls the rain, and she controls the heat. Her specific services. These are her special powers in giving pleasure to the divine couple. I was also reading that she has a special group, a very special group of maidservants that, quote, roam around Vrindavan to learn of Chandravali's secrets in order to inform Sri Radha. Remember, Chandravali's Radharani's main rival. So she has Sudevi has a group of maidservants, so they wander around Braja to learn of Chandravali's secrets, to meet with Krishna in order to inform Sri Radha. This is Braj. So like all the other 6 Sakhis, both Rangadevi and Sudevi have their individual kunjas, or groves. As they have their villages around Varshana, the Sakhis also have their particular kunjas, or groves, around Srimati Radharani's dear bathing place, Radhakund, in order to serve her. Now, Rangadevi's kunja is situated in the southwestern corner of Radhakund, and is described as a very mysterious black grove that delivers, we say prada, unlimited happiness, sukha, to Rangadevi. Therefore it's called Rangadevi Sukha Prada Kunja. Rangadevi Sukha Prada Kunja. It's the name of her kunj. And as we hinted, everything in that grove has a blackish hue. For example, the tamal trees are, tamal trees by nature are blackish, and they're entwined with blackish vines. And Radhika's attraction for Krishna increases whenever she goes there, because whatever she sees reminds her of Shyam. Shyam is bluish black like a monsoon cloud. So when she visits Ranga's kunja, she's reminded of Shyam. Everything has that bluish black tinge to everything in that kunj. I was reading that the ground, the platforms, and the pavilions are all covered with sapphires, so close together that they impart a blackish hue to whomever and whatever enters the kunj. Thus, when Krishna is there, because he's bluish black like a monsoon cloud, everything is tinged with that transcendental bluish black color. When Krishna is there, he's hidden from persons like Jyotila and Kotila, who are looking for him very often to see if he's with Srimati Radharani. Actually, one time Jyotila heard a rumor that Radha and Krishna were together at Rangadevi's kunja. So she very quickly left Yavat and came there as quickly as she could to that kunj. And when she arrived, Radha and Krishna were there. But because Krishna was completely, you could say, merged with the grove's bluish-black interior, Jatila only saw effulgent Srimati Radharani sitting there. So after praising her daughter-in-law's chastity, Jatila cursed who was ever spreading those rumors that she and Krishna were together at Rangadevi's kunja, and she left. So the color of that kunj protected Radha and Krishna's pastimes, one of Rangadevi's services, you could say. So now in the northwestern corner of Radha Kund is the emerald kunja of Sudevi. It's called Sudevi Shukanda Kunja, Sudevi Sukanda Kunja, where the vines, the trees, the birds, and even the bees, they're all green. Everything's green. The vines, the trees, the birds, even the bees are green. And the pavilions and the platforms there are all studded with green emeralds. And within a cottage on one such platform, Sri Radhika, surrounded by her friends and Krishna, they very often play games of dice. This is where they play dice. In my readings, I often come across Radha and Krishna playing dice. And chess, they play different games like that. So in Sudevi's kunj at Radha Kund, this is where the divine couple played dice. Now, it's really interesting because I was reading that the acharyas write that Krishna, like Maharaj Yudhishthira, he's very much attached to playing dice, but he's not very skilled at it. In fact, they say that when he's playing Radharani in dice, he loses more often than he wins in Sudevi's kunja. So one time, on the advice of Madhu Mangal, Krishna challenged Srimati Radharani to play dice, which they call Pasha Kela, by the way. When we say dice, but in Braj Bhasa it's called Pasha Kela. Madhu Mangal, Krishna under Madhu Mangal's advice, challenged Radharani to play Pasha Kela at a place called Vidagdha Grove. Vidagdha Grove. Now, actually, the cowherd boys, they arranged the practicalities of this pastime because they all reasoned that the unique Vastu configuration of Vidagdha Kunj would favor Krishna and ensure his victory in the same way that Sudevi's grove always seemed to favor Sri Radhika and her friends' victories in the dice game. However, the acharyas say, the boys had not considered the fact that Sri Radha is the goddess of victory. Jai Shri. Sri Radha is the goddess of victory. Jai Shri. And being, how can we say, fully independent, she's unaffected by Vastu, as she is by any planetary influence. And thus there in Vidagdha Kunj, Radharani once again beat Krishna in the game of dice. Jai Jai Shri. Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki. So, now for the main pastime of the day, the Brajabasis call it Raj Manalila. Now we've many times heard the word man, which means when Srimati Radharani becomes upset with Krishna, she becomes angry. So Raja means the king, and Lila means pastime. So Raj Manalila means the king of Radha's man pastimes. The king of Radha's man pastime. That's what we're going to share with you today. So, one time, Rangadevi and Sudevi went to a village nearby their home to sell makan. Krishna's called makan chor. He's the thief, he steals butter. So Rangadevi and Sudevi, they went to sell makan butter in a village not far from their home. This is what gopis do. On their way, who did they meet? Krishna, who was standing with, you could say, his favorite cowherd boy, Madhu Mangal. Krishna stood there on the road and he refused to let them pass by. You can just imagine now, once again he's eager to perform his Dhan Keli. Dhan Keli. Keli means playful, and Dhan means the tax pastime. He was going to play his pastime of taxing the gopis, which he does all over Braj. So Krishna stood before Rangadevi and Sudevi with his arms folded, and he said, "Ladies, this is my grandfather's road. He constructed it. If you want to walk on this thoroughfare, you must pay me dhan, you must pay me tax." Now, when Rangadevi and Sudevi heard these words of Krishna, they adamantly refused. So what did Krishna do? He broke the pots, covering them with butter all over, and then sitting down, he ate the remnants of that butter in great happiness with Madhu Mongol, laughing and joking, to taking the makan. So at that time, Rangadevi and Sudevi became furious with anger, and they stormed off to report to their queen, Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, what had happened. Now, when they went to Varshana, and they met Sri Radha in her quarters, and there Rangadevi and Sudevi, they shared the whole scenario that had taken place. And they concluded by saying, quote, "Sri Radha, it happens over and over and over again. This dhan, this taxing. Krishna's such a rascal." Sri Radha, we used to complain to Mother Yasoda about his mischievous activities, but she's blinded by her maternal love for him. And as far as Nanda Maharaj is concerned, he always laughs at our complaints. And Mother Rohini, she just sees faults in everything we say. And Krishna's brother, Balaram, well, those two brothers are exactly the same. So Sri Radha said, "My dear girls, if all those venerable souls are unable to do anything about these Dhan Keli pastimes, why come to me?" So Rangadevi and Sudevi said, "It's so sweet. Because, dear Radha, as a bee is controlled by flowers, a peacock by dark clouds, the moon by the darkness of night, a fish by water, and a body by the mind, similarly, Krishna is completely controlled by you." And they continued, "The whole world is in fear of Kala, time, and time fears Mahakala, Shiv, and Mahakala fears the goddess Mahakali, and the goddess Mahakali shivers in fear of Kaliya Krishna, but Kaliya Krishna fears the raising of your most beautiful eyebrows." Isn't that beautiful? So hearing the pleas of her Sakhis and seeing their anxious faces, Sri Radha's heart melted. And she said, "All right, I will see to this matter. Now you may go." So then that afternoon, while contemplating on Krishna's dealings with her Sakhis, Radharani manifested her man. She became angry with Krishna, and she said to herself, "Enough of this rascal boy taxing my gopis. This time for sure, I will never see him again." How many times she said that? But she said, "This time, for sure, I will never see him again." Now, minutes later, one of her maidservants informed her that Krishna had come to see her at Varshana. So what did she do? She quickly hid herself behind some curtains in her room. And unable to see Krishna as he entered her room, unable to see Sri Radha when he entered her room, Krishna called out, "Sri Radha, you are my heart and soul. I am here. Please show yourself to me." So Sri Radha spoke up from her hiding place behind the curtains, and she said, "And who, may I ask, are you?" Krishna got flustered. He said, I'm Krishna. So Radha said from behind the curtain, if you are Krishna, one meaning of Krishna is Madhusudan, the bumblebee, so please go to the garden. So Krishna said, no, you don't understand, I'm Gopal. So Radha said from her hiding place, then Gopal, go herd the cows. Then Krishna said, Shri Radha, do not speak riddles with me. I'm your Gyanasham. I'm your Gyanasham. Now in Sanskrit, Gyanasham means like dark clouds. So Shri Radha said, if you're Gyanasham, then go and feed the thirst of the fields with your rainwater. So poetic. If you're Gyanasham, then go feed the thirst of the fields with your rainwater. Krishna, he didn't have anything more to say. Radharani defeated him. So Krishna said, oh Priya, so sweet, oh Priya, what has happened? What offenses have I made to your lotus feet? So the acharyas say that when no reply came, this time there was no reply from Radha, Krishna understood that Sri Radha had become man, angry with him. And he felt that only separation would bring her back to her senses. So he left the palace. He felt that only separation would bring her back to her senses. Separation makes the heart grow fonder. How many times have we quoted that English saying? So he left. This is his strategy. He left. Now, when Sri Radha understood that Krishna had left, well, his plan worked. She started crying in Vipralamba Bhav and separate. It didn't take long. One moment. She started crying. And as she started falling down on the ground unconscious, she uttered the words, I will never be angry with Krishna again. I will never manifest the mood of man with my beloved as long as I live. See the turbulence of emotions, transcendental emotions in Sri Vrindavan Dham. This is what we're hankering for. That is where we want to live. Not with the emotions of this world, but the emotions of the spiritual world. All focused on the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. We know when will that day be ours. So, hearing these words from the mouth of Sri Radha, I'll never be angry with Krishna again. I'll never manifest my mood of man. Hearing these words from the mouth of Radha, Rangadevi, our heroine today, quickly left to find Krishna. And after much searching, she found Krishna sitting on the banks of the Jamuna River. And what was he doing? I was reading this in the Institute, the Vrindavan Research Institute. When I got to this part, it was like, wow. She found him sitting on the banks of the Jamuna, throwing small pebbles into the river with a sad face. Krishna was throwing small pebbles into the river with a sad face. So Rangadevi came up to Krishna and asked, she said, my dear Krishna, why are you so sad? Did your mother chastise you? Did you have a fight with Balaram? Did you lose something? It's a hint here. She's hinting. Did you lose something? So Krishna replied, yes, Rangadevi, I have lost my everything. Yes, Rangadevi, I have lost my everything. It appears, I'm sitting here and it appears that the moon has lost its cooling nature. Trees, he said, have lost their stability. The Jamuna has lost her waves. And cuckoos have lost their musical notes. And me, I have lost my dearest Radha. And me, I have lost my dearest Radha. So hearing these words of Krishna, Rangadevi's heart melted. There's a lot of melting hearts here today. As the acharyas say, as did her anger at the way he had tried to tax her and her sister earlier. Everything's resolved in Braj Leela. So she said, Shamsundar, I will arrange a meeting for you with Sri Radha. But Krishna, in this particular instance, he truly felt that there was no hope. He truly felt that this time there was no hope. And he said, but Ranga, she's in her mon. It's not possible to arrange a meeting. But then Rangadevi said, she smiled and she said something so amazing when I was reading this, so amazing. I'd like to share it with you. Rangadevi said to Krishna, Krishna, you do not know the true nature of us Sakhis. Sakhis can make fire and water. We can stop time. We can freeze the sun. We can churn the clouds. And we can float mountains. We can make the Lord of the three worlds dance by the movement of our eyes. We can make the Lord of the three worlds, which means Krishna, dance by the movement of our eyes. Then she continued, and just as we can control a mad elephant by binding its legs with the creeper of Mrinal, M-R-I-N-A-L, and just as we can control a mad elephant by binding its legs with the creeper of Mrinal. So Mrinal is the ultra-soft and sensitive segments inside the lotus flower. Just see how powerful the Sakhis are. With those ultra-soft and sensitive segments of the lotus flower, they can bind the legs of a wild elephant. So she said, in the same way, we can bind a mad elephant like you with the soft mrinal of Radha's mercy, Radha's love for you. So she concluded, so I will go now, and with my sister Sudevi, we will bring Sri Radha here under the cover of darkness. So finding Sri Radha in her palace at Varshana, Rangadevi asked Sri Radha to follow her and her twin sister, Sudevi, to see her beloved, Krishna, in the forest under the cover of darkness. But Sri Radha hesitated. And she said, but what if someone sees me going to Krishna in the forest in the dead of night? What will people think of me? So Sudevi spoke up. We're going to hear from Sudevi. Sudevi said, O Radhe, do not worry. The darkness of your carilium and the darkness of your shadow will hide you from any person who happens to pass by. Do not worry. I've filled your ankle bells with the dust of Braj, so no sound will come from them. I will cover you with a dark blanket, and Rangadevi will walk before us to guard the way with, quote, a lamp of separation in her hands. Wow. Rangadevi's going to walk before them with a lamp of separation in her hands. So that night, Rangadevi and Sudevi arranged for Radha and Krishna to meet, thus extinguishing the burning fire of separation within their hearts. And when this news was carried by the parrots to all the other Astasakis and their maidservants of Vrindavan, the joy of their hearts knew no bounds. For all these gopis lived solely for the purpose of uniting the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, in their pastimes of love. That's the pastime. And that's the nectar, the amrit, for today. A note here that in Kali Yuga, Rangadevi appeared as Gadadhar Bhatta in Gaur Leela, and our other heroine, Sudevi, appeared as Ananta Acharya Goswami. Hare Krishna. So today we'll conclude, as we often do, with words of wisdom from one of our great heroes, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, in his illustrious Vrindavan Mahimamrita Sataka 17, text number 3. Very important shloka. Quote, Lord Gaurachandra freely distributed his causeless mercy to all fallen souls who are devoid of any good qualities, who are the source of unlimited faults, who are most sinful, and who are guilty of all their misdeeds. May that Gaurachandra, by whose mercy this unfortunate soul came to know about the sweet forms of Radha and Krishna and the loving abode of Sri Vrindavan Dham, may that Gaurachandra become the ultimate goal of my life. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So, yeah, we finished our kind of a spontaneous mini-series on the Sakhis, but it was so nice to discover those pastimes and by Srila Prabhupada's mercy relate all of them to you. So we'll think about what's the next mini-series we can have on the glories of the 12 forests of Sri Vrindavan Dham and all the illustrious Brajavasis who live there. So I'll be back in a couple days. Thank you so much, Prabhus. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, the Sakhis of Vrindavan ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Lord Nityananda Prabhu ki, Gaura Premanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe, Sharm Shri Prabhupada.